Hey guys, welcome back to more homeowner association stories. In this video, an HOA towed my jet ski from my private property and ends up destroying it, claiming that it is illegal. Let's dive right into the story. The title story starts like this. So I have a jet ski and during the summer I go out to the nearby water with it a lot. To make my life a whole lot easier, I tend to just leave it on the back of my pickup truck for easy transport. During the winter, it's in the garage and bringing it in and out constantly during the summer I found out to be a pain. I don't see it as a big deal either because it hurts nobody and is safe. In short, I'm part of an HOA and when I started storing my jet ski like this, I got a letter from them telling me that I had an official warning, that I was not allowed to have my jet ski visible like that and if I continued, I would be given a fine. I suppose that a good number of people would just do what they were told and start storing it in the garage again. I'm not typical though and instead wanted to find exactly where it said I couldn't do this. The HOA handbook seemed to be written in the most complicated way for the sole purpose to be too difficult to understand. I'm stubborn and managed to figure out the wording of things and how to navigate to where I wanted to look. No matter what section I read through, I found exactly 0 things regarding jet skis. I also found nothing regarding storing another mode of transportation on my truck. I did not change anything I was doing once I found out that I did not break a single rule and they were just being annoying. This did not surprise me though because the HOA president was infamous for being a thorn in people's sides in order to get her way. A real Karen that thought the universe revolved around her and everything she wanted. If she was going to fine me for it, I was gonna fight that and win it easily since she had no basis. What I did not expect was for my cameras to catch my truck being towed right out of my driveway with the jet ski still on the back of it. The only way a tow truck could do this if the HOA had called them about something I was in violation of and needing to be taken care of. The boundaries of the use of this were heavily crossed as the HOA rights to tow were usually reserved for things like blocked driveways or other illegal type of parking. I tried to go and talk to Karen about my truck and getting it back since I knew she was behind all of this. She was always behind everything. Karen flat out told me that the jet ski was an eyesore and I should have listened to her letter telling me to stop. I argued that there was no rule against it, but she just kept saying that it was ugly and made everything look around it ugly. I don't know how that makes sense. If anything, I would imagine it made it seem to people like this neighborhood had actually money. I told her that she couldn't just tow my entire truck because she didn't like my jet ski, but it went in one ear and out the other. I had to call the tow company to try and get my truck back, but in the meantime I made a post on the HOA community website about this drama. I attached a video and told everybody what happened and Karen's response when I tried to confront her about it. This post got a lot of attention and Karen was even angrier at me because of it. She tried to file a lawsuit against me for defamation, but nothing really came out of that. The video had solid proof, especially mixed with her letter and confession of what she did. Unless she was gonna lie in court and break the law, it was clearly not defamation. I only told the truth to everybody and it was for the purpose of them keeping an eye on their cars. And seriously, everybody already hated Karen, so I did not even ruin her reputation or anything. She was more than capable of doing all that on her own. I did get my truck and jet ski back, but the jet ski was destroyed like somebody took a bat or something to it. Things were also not calming down after I got it back. Karen was still the HOA president and adamant that I have to follow her rules. I did not know how I was gonna end this and debated starting more crap until she had to step down from her position. Before that could happen, I found something out about Karen and decided to go down a different route instead. With the defamation case, the police told me that while I was not wrong, I should call them next time something goes wrong. I did just that when I saw Karen standing outside of a public park within the HOA and charging an entrance fee to people that did not know any better. This was not a private park owned by the HOA, it was run by the city and just happened to be within the HOA boundary borders. I took a video of this and made another post telling her off for stealing money under the guise of it being for the HOA. Then I called the police like I was told to, and when they arrived I showed them the video and said what she was doing. She was arrested for trying to scam people out of their money and a huge investigation was done into her finances. It turns out that she had been using her role to get money that she couldn't have for a long time. They found HOA funds that did not add up right, and it turns out that she was skimming off of the top for herself. She would take money from people's fines and take it for herself as well, and this also explained how a woman with no job seemed to be able to afford all the nice things that she wanted. She was scamming people out of their money to make her own life lush. She knew that I was the one that called the police because of the community post and tried coming after me as well. It did not work out well for her and just resulted in her getting another charge, this time for assault. As the cherry on top, I was in a civil case against her wanting money back for the jet ski that after further examination could not be fixed due to the severe damage. She wanted to argue that I had no proof that she destroyed it, but it didn't matter who actually did the act. She was the reason that it was taken off of my property illegally, so any damage sustained during that time was on her. She started screaming that she was not gonna give me money for a stupid toy and that I needed to grow up. Okay, Karen, you're the one screaming like a child, but sure, I will go right ahead and be the one that needs to grow up. She was forced to lose her position on the HOA and not allowed to hold any position because of her crimes. But well, not only was the DA going after her due to the theft, but the IRS was up her ass because she had been taking in all this money but not declaring any of it. Instead, she was claiming she had no money, so she couldn't pay any taxes. The entire thing was a legal mess, so I will just skip to the end of it so this story does not go on forever. So aside from owing me the money for a new jet ski, she owed the government a ton of money because of unpaid taxes. Then she owed the HOA money because of everything she had stolen from them and the people within the community. As for the theft and assault charges, she was put behind bars for a year. It was not too long, but I think that it will be enough for her to get the idea that she will want to follow the law from now on. And yeah guys, let's hope this Karen learned her lesson. And the next one is an incredibly interesting relationship story that you don't want to miss. And by the way, if you enjoy the HOA stories, please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments because I would very much appreciate that. So the next one is titled, My 44 Male Family Was Uninvited from a Trip Because My Son, 14 male, is Autistic. 5 years ago, my childhood best friend, 44 male, invited me, my wife, 41 female, and our son on a week-long trip to California with his family and 3 of his college/work friends, which are between 42 and 45, all male, and their families. I'd met them before and we all got on well enough, so I agreed to it. They knew that my son was autistic before they invited us and were fine with it apparently. The first year we went, my son had a really hard time adjusting, but got better as time went on, although he did have a few meltdowns, but everyone acted like it was fine and that they understood and continued to invite us on the trip, and things usually went like that. Earlier this week, my friends said that they wanted to discuss the trip, and I too wanted to discuss the trip because of some concerns I had. Mainly one of my friend's teenage daughter, who was extremely rude to my son, by the way, so I agreed, and when I got there, things were really awkward. No one really said anything, and finally one of the guys just said that they and their families had decided it would probably be best if we, my family, did not go on the trip this year. I was completely blindsided and of course asked why, and none of them would come right out and say it directly, but they slyly said it was because of my son. They said that this year, since it was vacation, they wanted to be able to truly relax, and for the past few years they haven't been able to. They also said that this year they really wanted some adult time since they haven't had any the last few years. By the way, whenever my wife and I went out, our son would have to come too because no one would stay with him, and quite frankly, I did not trust any of the other kids to stay with him, and he had a meltdown once at a restaurant. Their final reason was that some of their kids were uncomfortable, we rent a big house out there, and felt unsafe staying in the house because of one instance where my son did get a little out of hand, one time out of the 4 years, so I did understand that part a bit. Like I said, they never came right out and said it was because of my son, but I knew and it really hurt. This trip is the only time my wife and I ever get away, and they knew that. I think it's pretty sad that a group of adults cannot see past a few inconveniences and annoyances from a child who cannot help it for a few days. But I know it's a little different to me because I deal with it all of the time. Overall, I'm just angry, hurt and confused, as is my wife, by all of this because they are supposed to be my friends and I thought they understood everything. I also feel like I'm ready to cut ties with all of them and not look back, but my wife thinks that I should tell them all how I truly feel about the situation so they won't just think it's okay to do that to anyone. I don't really know what I'm asking, whether I'm overreacting, I truly don't think I am, or whether I should just end the friendship now or talk to them first. And yeah guys, if you would have been in this awful situation, how would you have reacted and what would you suggest OP to do? A user on Reddit said, "You have every right to feel hurt because we cannot control the hands we are dealt." However, I'm inclined to say that your friends do have a valid point. An autistic child is a lot to deal with and not everyone is able to do it. Your point of view is that people should just accept him because he cannot help it, because he's your child and you're used to it. Imagine it from the other point of view. They see it as a child who can randomly go off at any moment, whether he can help it or not. It does not matter if it's caused by a disease or just a hyperactive child. They see the potential meltdowns as uncomfortable and awkward. Pretend it wasn't your child, pretend one of your friend's children has ADHD, his family wants to go on a vacation because they are used to it and have learned to tune down his yelling. Would you want to go out with him constantly yelling and making people uncomfortable? Could your friends have been more straightforward in their approach? Yes. At the end of the day, though, they did a cost/benefit analysis and figured it was better to have peace of mind for their kids and them and decided to cut you. I recommend planning a vacation with your son. Well, there's no reason why you all cannot have a great time as a family somewhere. Update to the story: after thinking hard about it, I decided I would talk to my friends about everything that happened, so we decided to meet again and talk it out. They said that they understood why I was hurt, but were not even planning on budging in anyway. There was no hesitation this time, and one of them, the one with the rude daughter, told me straight out that being around my son was way too stressful and risky, and that this year they refused to constantly walk on eggshells and put their kids at risk for my family's sake. We were never the closest, but I still thought we were friendly enough acquaintances to be respectful to one another, but I guess not, and in the moment we did get into a bit of a heated argument and basically nothing got resolved. However, my childhood friend did tell me that he doesn't want this to end our friendship and that maybe next year we could all work something out. But quite frankly, I really don't want to go on a trip with any of them, and then I left. My wife, when I got home, was happy that I talked to them, but upset that I even considered trying to come up with a solution to go on a trip where we would not even be wanted, which I understand. As far as my friendship with those guys, I'm not sure where it stands. If we don't talk in the future, it won't bother me too bad since they feel the way they do. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but if you cannot accept my child, then you cannot accept me, especially when he's so dependent on me. I'm a little disappointed because I thought we were all friends, but maybe it's for the best. Before we end the video, we will read an interesting story from r/petty revenge. It is titled, "Gave my ex a surprise when I left unexpectedly." So my ex and I were planning on separating. It was a toxic relationship. He was a controlling narcissist and I'd been under his thumb for way too long. I was in counseling and my therapist and I mapped out the best way for me to get out. Although the details of the plan were my idea, I got a better paying job. I opened my own bank account, that was a huge fight, and I figured out where to go. He knew I was leaving and he even went through the house and marked all of the things that were supposedly his that I couldn't take with me, which was basically everything we purchased throughout our 13 years together. I was only allowed to take the items that I came with when we moved in together. He planned to take the day off from work on a particular Saturday and would be there to supervise my move to ensure that I only took what he approved. So that is where my plan began. The Saturday before his planned date, I scheduled to move after he left for work. He worked long days, so I knew I could pack and leave before he returned. About an hour after he left, my friends and family showed up with boxes and tape and a moving truck. I parked it out back so my neighbors didn't see it. In less than 4 hours, all of my belongings were packed and on the truck, and I pretty much stuck to his rules because I did not want reminders of our life in my future. Before I left in the truck, I went through and grabbed every single towel, washcloth, sheet, toilet paper, paper towel, napkin and tissue. I took anything and everything that he could wipe his butt or his nose with, and I took the carpet runner that was at the front door, leaving the tape that secured it to the floor. That way he knew as soon as he walked in that I was gone. So yeah, imagine coming home from work after a long day, expecting one thing and finding another, and then not having a single tissue or toilet paper to use. However, my best revenge was building a happy life, but that day made me feel so good. And yes, for those who care, he actually got diagnosed. We were originally in therapy together. I forgot to add that he deemed the bed as his, so I couldn't take it, but he never mentioned the mattress and box spring, which I also took. And yeah guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you again tomorrow. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. I hate to say it, but these days some people get on my nerves more so than others. I happen to be someone who's kind-hearted, generally cares for the people around me, and wants to do good. After my wife died, I moved to a small town outside of Billings, Montana. It was there that I dedicated my life to the practice of martial arts and firearms. I was in the Army Reserve and knew a thing or two about hand-to-hand combat, let alone how to shoot a gun. There was this neighbor though, and we all have had crazy neighbors. She happened to be one of those neighbors that got in my business a lot. And the one time I let my guard down, she ended up walking all over me. This all went down a few months ago. I was on my porch sipping a scotch and she rolls up in her golf cart. She usually uses that to move across her property and tend to her garden. She was about my age, in her 40s, slim, a widow like me, only she had a little girl that was her pride and joy. I feel like her girl was the reason I got myself in a pickle to begin with. She had come over some nights for dinner, and this one night I was not expecting her to pull up. I had recently gotten a new cat, a Maine Coon to be exact. For me, they are some of the most beautiful cats out there. I paid a hefty dollar for this one, and I knew that it was gonna stick around a while with me while I grieved my wife. She always loved cats, and I promised her one day that I would get her one. Well, this was my promise to her. I felt attached to this cat in a certain way, like my wife was standing over my shoulders and this cat was a gift from her to me. When I searched for the cat and found it at a local breeder, I was amazed at how easy and effortless it was to obtain it and have a cat of my own. But I guess all that ease and non-effort would come back around and bite me in the rear. It seems like life has been that way for a while now. Just when you think something good comes your way, someone or something has to come and mess it up. So when my neighbor Cindy pulls up to my house, I'm sitting there thinking, what is up with her? Why is she here right now? It turns out that one of my other neighbors snitched on me and told her that I had a beautiful cat that you gotta see. I didn't know that she took a liking to cats. In fact, I thought she was a dog person. And these cats here are big. Knowing what I know now, I wish it had bit her head off. So she rolls up and greets me and starts being flirty like normal. Hey, I hear you got a new pussycat. I looked at her and smiled, thinking tonight might be a good night. I come back at her and say, yep, she's a nice little cat, definitely something I need more of around here. She starts laughing with me and we have a great dinner together. I tell her that my cat is asleep in the other room and I don't like to wake it up. It's on a certain sleep schedule, believe it or not. So when Cindy walks in the other room and opens the door and finds it laying on the guest bed, she starts screaming in joy. I was hoping after a few cocktails that she would be in my room screaming for joy, but no. She wanted to look and play with my cat instead. She calls up my neighbor and starts talking loud over the phone. My God, Margaret, have you seen this thing? It's ginormous. I roll my eyes and shut the door before she wakes up the cat, which was already woken up by the way. I shut the door and say, look, didn't I tell you not to jump in on my cat while it was sleeping? She looks at me with some cold eyes like I've never seen before. I just wanted to see it, that's all. You don't have to be a jerk. She goes back to the dinner table and finished her Bloody Mary. Can't I just have one look, John? You never told me you got a cat and I just wanted to see it. I roll my eyes again and tell her that this cat was special to me and I did not want her to intrude. I got something to tell you if you don't mind, I said. This cat is special to me and I feel like it's a gift from my late wife, Jenny. It's almost like Jenny is the cat. I know it sounds crazy, I'm sorry about being rude at all. Do you want to pet the cat? That's when things started to get out of hand. You see, I did not know Cindy at the time was a little feisty. She had been in the army as well, and that's how we connected. Matter of fact, she knew hand-to-hand combat like I did. One time we even wrestled together and got rough, but something about what I just said set her off and made her turn into some other person I was not willing to deal with. It's almost as if she became a totally other woman right before my eyes, and I have a feeling it had to do with mentioning my late wife Jenny. For some reason, I think she got a little jealous, so the next thing I know, she is storming in the guest bedroom, flings the door open and starts jumping on the bed where the cat is at. I tell her to calm down and she starts throwing towels and the cat toys all around the room, playfully jumping around to see how she can push my buttons. That's when I follow after her in there and grab her by the waist and tell her to stop. She starts laughing some more and turns herself around and goes in for a kiss. I'm like, damn, she's really forward. We start making out and Sprinkles, my cat, jumps off the bed and runs to the kitchen meowing and making noises. Cindy tries to take my clothes off, but I wanna go see and make sure that Sprinkles is okay. That's when she gets ballistic on me. She starts yelling at me saying how I never make time for her and that I am too into my cat. She storms out of the house and heads down the hill with her golf cart. I could tell she was a little pissed. Meanwhile, Sprinkles is just looking at me licking its paw and meowing like a good little cat that she is. I clean up the kitchen and look at an old photo on top of the counter of my wife and I start to get a little emotional and realize what I had done. I started to think, have I really let go of my wife? The next day I get this phone call from Cindy. Apparently she was mad that I didn't give her any attention and that she wished that she never met me. She also mentions that she wants my cat. I'm like, hell no. She says that the cat has come between us and taken away our quality time. I need to mention too that she said the cat can be given to her young daughter who loves animals. So when she asks for an apology and I don't give one, that is when all hell breaks loose. She comes over and demands that I give up my cat and give it to her daughter. I'm like, hell no, this is my cat. She says, I regret to inform you, but I'm gonna have to take it by force. It's come between us, John, give it up or give me up. She starts screaming. When I refuse, she starts a tantrum and throws the cat toys around and screams at me some more. Why won't you give me the damn cat, huh, John? Is it because you think it's from your wife? Do you think your wife even cared about you? I looked down and frowned. She really hit a chord there, but I was not gonna let her win this battle. This cat was mine, and there was no way she was gonna get her way this time. Look, damn it, this is my cat. Why the hell do you want it anyway? Shayla has plenty of toys she can play with. If you want to get her a doll or a dog or something, be my guest. She ain't having it. I storm into the bedroom and shut the door where the cat is at. Just get out of my house, I yelled back at her. When she starts banging on the door, knocking really loud, that's when I knew she was not gonna let down. This woman was a psycho, and trust me, you don't want to be around a crazy psycho Karen. Suddenly the tables have turned on me. She starts banging on the door, demanding I give sprinkles to her. Come on, John, open the damn door before I knock it down. I will call the cops on you if you don't give me what I want. I'm thinking this Karen is crazy, she's gonna call the cops on me. She starts banging on the door and claiming that I hit her and I said all these vulgar things and threats to her. So when I realize she's gone crazy, that's when I get my pistol out of the closet. No way in hell is someone gonna make my day. If I have to go Terminator style on her, I might just have to. So when I hear her go in the kitchen and start moving stuff around, that's when I peek outside the door. I thought that maybe she would leave, but no, she is taking my food. I run to the kitchen and grab her arm. Stop it, I yell. Get out of my house. She didn't realize that I had a pistol locked and loaded, so that's when she gets even more crazy. She flings the fridge door on me and starts bashing it against my knee. When I reach down to grab my knee in pain, that is when she starts kicking me. I swear she even kicked me in the balls. I reach for my pistol, and that's when she grabs my head and holds it up to hers and says, "Give me the cat, John, or else." I tell her no, and she continues to degrade me and call me names. She even starts throwing dishes around and runs into the guest bedroom to grab sprinkles. I run after her with the pistol in tow and she slams the door on me. I hear a loud screech coming from the cat and start banging on the door telling her to open up. She starts screaming at me, "You will never see this cat again unless you give it to me." I stop for a minute and think the only way I'm gonna see this end is if I tell her I will give it to her so that she will open the door. And I did. She opens it and I point the pistol right in her face. "Game over," I say, and she says, "Okay, you win." But just as I open the door, she turns her back on me and ducks down and knocks me flat on my back. I guess her hand-to-hand combat skills prove to actually work. I get up and reach for her so that she cannot do anything. She grabs my pistol and starts shooting all around. That's when I hear a loud screech coming from Sprinkles. She shot her. What the hell? I run towards Sprinkles and she is still alive. "What the hell are you doing, Karen?" I yell, and she points the gun at me. "Put the gun down now," I yell back. "No," she screams at me. I tell her to get off my property, but she refuses, and just when she tries to shut the door on me, I run after her and knock her down. I guess she did not have a good handle on the gun, but she ends up shooting her own foot. I leave the gun on the floor thinking this could be good evidence. "See what you did? Get out!" She limps over to the door and starts mumbling something. "What did you say?" I ask her. She said, "I called the cops." Just then I hear sirens outside my door. I open it and a couple police officers show up. They ask me what's going on and I tell them everything. It turns out Cindy called the cops on me for a fake domestic violence dispute. She was trying to cheat me out from the get-go, but I got her. The cops fingerprinted the gun and I told them she shot herself in the foot when I tried to defend myself in my own house. I pressed charges and she ended up in jail for a long time. When word got out to the local shelter and the local breeders where I got Sprinkles, they had sympathy for me and donated a Maine Coon to her daughter Shayla, who now had to be in foster care because of her psycho mom. If there's any lesson to be learned, realize that sometimes the people you trust the most can turn out to be your worst nightmare. In this case, I think for her it would help to get some psychiatric evaluation. Or maybe she just needs a cat in her life, just not mine. As for Sprinkles, my fur baby survived. It was almost a miracle. A neighbor who is a vet took care of her just in time, and I was very lucky that she got the treatment she needed so quickly.